reading this right now for a reason that is far deeper than coincidence, far stronger than chance, and far more precise than anything you have ever experienced before. Something within you already knows that this moment is different. Something in your heart has already begun to feel the weight of these words before even fully understanding them. This is not just another message. This is not just another motivational speech. Spiritual awakening call that reaches into the deepest corners of your life and confronts you with a truth you cannot ignore anymore. Urgent. There is a very serious decision being made about you right now in the unseen realm. A decision that carries the power to redefine your future, reshape your past, and reposition your entire destiny. And whether you realize it or not, your response in this moment matters more than you can comprehend. Moments in life when everything feels silent on the outside, but everything is being decided on the inside. Moments where you feel like nothing is changing, yet everything is shifting beneath the surface. This is one of those moments. Walk through confusion, disappointment, delay, rejection, or pain, and you may have wondered why certain doors closed or why certain paths were blocked. But what if I told you that what you thought was rejection was actually redirection? What if I told you that what you thought was delay was actually divine protection? What if I told you that even in your lowest moments, God was not absent, but deeply present, carefully orchestrating something you could not yet see? Listen closely. This is not just encouragement. This is awakening. There is a serious divine decision concerning your life, and it is not random, not careless, and not without purpose. It is rooted in wisdom beyond human understanding. You may not always understand why things happen the way they do, but God sees the entire picture while you only see a fragment. You see the pain of today, but God sees the victory of tomorrow. You see the struggle of the present. God sees the strength that will be born from it. You see the breaking, but God sees the building. And now in this moment, the question is not whether God is working, because He is always working. The real question is whether you will align your heart with what He is doing or resist the process that is shaping you. Because sometimes the very thing you are asking God to remove is the very thing God is using to refine you. Sometimes the pressure you feel is not punishment, it is preparation. Sometimes the waiting is not abandonment, it is alignment. There is a seriousness to your life that you must now begin to recognize. You are not here by accident, breathing randomly. You are not surviving without meaning. There is a divine intention behind your existence, and that intention has not been cancelled by your mistakes, your fears, or your past. God does not abandon purpose because of imperfection. Instead, He works through imperfection to reveal purpose in ways that leave no doubt that it was Him all along. Right now, you may feel like you are standing at a crossroads. One direction feels uncertain, the other feels familiar, but neither feels easy. In that tension, something deep within you is searching for clarity. That is because your spirit recognizes that a decision is being formed over your life, not by confusion, but by divine orchestration. And even though you may feel like you are waiting for direction, the truth is that God has already placed direction within you. The challenge is not whether guidance exists, but whether you are willing to trust it. There is a reason you are still here. Reason you did not break completely when everything tried to break you. There was a reason you survived what you thought would destroy you. That reason is not luck. That reason is not chance. That reason is divine preservation. God has kept you for something greater than what you have been through. And when God keeps you, it is because what He has planned for you cannot be cancelled by anything you have faced. You must understand this deeply. God is not just observing your life, actively shaping it. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, something is being formed. Even when it feels like doors are closed, God is working behind those doors. Even when you feel forgotten, being remembered in ways that matter eternally. There is no delay in God's plan, only divine timing that refuses to be rushed by human anxiety. And now the seriousness of this message becomes even clearer. Seasons in life where God begins to elevate you internally before anything changes externally. That means before your environment shifts, your mindset must shift. Before your situation changes, your understanding must change. Before your breakthrough manifests, your belief must deepen. Because God does not just change circumstances, He transforms people to carry what He is about to release. If you are being stretched right now, it is because you are being prepared to carry more than you currently hold. If you are being challenged, it is because strength is being built within you that cannot be developed in comfort. If you are being tested, because your foundation is being strengthened for something greater than what you have known before. Do not misunderstand the process. The pressure you feel is not evidence of abandonment. It is evidence of preparation. God does not waste pain. He does not waste seasons. He does not allow anything in your life without purpose. Even what broke you is being used to build you. Even what confused you is being used to clarify you. Even what hurt you is being used to heal you in ways you cannot yet see. And now listen carefully, because this is where the message becomes deeply personal. God is not only working on your situation, He is working on you. There are things within you that needed to be removed before certain blessings could remain. Mindsets that needed to shift before certain doors could open. There were fears that needed to be confronted before certain assignments could be entrusted to you. You may have prayed for change, but God is first changing you. For elevation, but God is first strengthening your foundation. You may have desired acceleration, but God is first ensuring your stability. Because what God is preparing for you is not temporary relief, long-term alignment with purpose. There is seriousness in this moment because you are being invited into awareness. Awareness that your life is not random. Awareness that your struggles are not meaningless. Awareness that your waiting is not wasted. Awareness that God is deeply involved in every detail. Even when silence surrounds you, silence does not mean absence. Delay does not mean denial. Struggle does not mean failure. Often the very signs that something deeper is being constructed in your life. And if you could see what God sees, you would understand that even your setbacks have been carefully measured, not to destroy you, but to direct you. Divine decision being formed concerning your next step. Not because God is uncertain, but because you are being led into alignment. And alignment requires trust. Trust when you cannot trace. Faith when you cannot see. Surrender when you cannot control. Because control was never meant to be yours. Guidance was. You have to begin to see your life through a different lens. Not through fear, but through faith. Not through limitation, but through possibility. Through confusion, but through divine order. Because God is not chaotic in His plans. Even what feels chaotic to you is structured perfectly in His wisdom. There is a version of you that already exists in God's plan that you have not yet stepped into. Every experience you are going through is shaping you toward that version. You are not becoming someone random. You are becoming who you are designed to be. And now, here is where the urgency becomes undeniable. You cannot afford to ignore this process, afford to resist this shaping. You cannot afford to reject what is forming you, because what God is preparing is not ordinary, and what is required of you is not average strength. There will be moments where you feel like giving up. Those are the exact moments where your persistence matters most. There will be moments where you feel like nothing is changing, but those are the exact moments where unseen change is at its peak. There will be moments where you feel alone. Those are the exact moments where divine presence is closest. Do not measure your life by what you can see. Measure it by what God is building beyond what you can see. Because what is unseen is often what determines what is seen. What is being built in the unseen realm is far greater than what you currently perceive. You are in a serious moment of transition, a moment where old chapters cannot continue and new chapters cannot be ignored. Moment where your identity is being refined, your direction is being clarified, and your purpose is being activated. And in this moment, God is not distant, He is deeply involved. Every tear has meaning. Every delay has purpose. Every struggle has direction. Every unanswered question is not forgotten. It is being positioned for revelation at the right time. God does not reveal everything at once because you are not meant to carry everything at once. There is a timing to everything, a timing to growth, timing to breakthrough, a timing to clarity. And what feels like waiting is often preparation for timing that is already appointed. So now hear this with full seriousness. You are not overlooked. You are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. Being prepared, positioned, and aligned for something that will confirm that everything you endured had meaning. And even now, as you are reading this, something within you is shifting. Something within you is waking up. Something within you is beginning to recognize that your life is not ordinary and your journey is not random. That recognition is not emotional. It is spiritual awareness. You are being called to rise above fear, to rise above doubt, to rise above limitation, not by your own strength, but by trust in God's guidance. Because when God decides something concerning your life, no force can cancel it. There is seriousness in this truth. What is coming for you is greater than what has tried to stop you. Ahead of you is stronger than what has been behind you. And what God is building in you will outlast everything that tried to break you. You are not at the end. You are at a turning point. And at this turning point, your awareness, your faith response matter more than anything else. Because this is not just about what God is doing around you. It is about what God is doing within you. And if you can hold on, if you can trust, if you can remain steady in faith, even when things are unclear, you will discover that nothing you went through was wasted. Everything was shaping you. Everything was building you. Everything was leading you here. And here is where the message settles into its deepest truth. God has not changed His mind about you. The plan has not been cancelled. The purpose has not been erased. The calling has not been removed. It is still active, still alive, still unfolding. And the decision being made about you is not one of rejection, one of preparation for elevation that you could not achieve without this process. So stand firm in faith, stay grounded in trust, and move forward with the quiet confidence that God is still writing your story even now. This is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning of a greater revelation of what God has always intended for you. And now, as this message continues to unfold, there is something deeper that must be understood with absolute clarity. Not only shaping your circumstances, He is refining your perception. Because shift, the greatest shift in your life, will never begin outside of you. Begins in how you see what is happening to you. Two people can walk through the same storm. One breaks and the other becomes stronger. The difference is not the storm. The difference is understanding. And right now, God is elevating your understanding so that what once confused you will no longer control you. There was nothing changes in life where nothing changes around you until something changes within you. That is why some doors remain closed, not because they are denied, but because you are being prepared to walk through them without losing yourself when they open. Not just open doors. He prepares identities that can sustain what is behind those doors. And if you are still being processed, it is because what is ahead of you requires a version of you that is still being formed. Recognize this truth with seriousness. Every delay has been deliberate, not random, not accidental, not forgotten. Deliberate because God does not operate in confusion. Even what looks like interruption to you is often alignment in disguise. Paths you wanted that God protected you from. There were connections you were disappointed about losing that God removed to protect your future. Outcomes you cried over that were never meant to stay in your life because they could not carry the weight of your destiny. And even now, there is a restructuring happening in your inner world. Your patience is being strengthened. Discernment is being sharpened. Your emotional depth is being purified. Your resilience is being reinforced, not for comfort, but for calling. What God is preparing you for is not something shallow. It is something that requires stability under pressure, clarity under confusion, and faith under silence. There is a divine seriousness over your journey because you are not ordinary in assignment. You were never meant to simply exist without impact. You were created with intention, shaped with purpose, and sustained by divine mercy, even in your weakest moments. And if you look back honestly, see moments where you should have given up but somehow continued. That somehow was not luck. It was God holding you in ways you did not even recognize at the time. And now, a deeper truth must settle into your spirit. You call your breaking point was actually your rebuilding point. What you thought was your end was actually a reset. What you thought was your failure was actually your formation. Because God does not discard what He is developing, not abandon what He is building. He does not release what He is refining halfway through the process. You may not see it yet, but there is a pattern forming in your life that only becomes visible in hindsight. Right now, no church at all. It may feel like scattered moments, disconnected events, unanswered prayers, and unclear direction. But in the hands of God, nothing is scattered. Everything is being woven into a design that only becomes clear when the time of revelation arrives. Also, something you must now confront with honesty. Not everything you are asking for is aligned with what you are prepared to carry. And God, in His wisdom, does not respond only to desire. He responds to readiness. Some prayers are not denied, but delayed. Not because they are wrong, but because timing is a form of protection. If everything you prayed for came immediately, you might lose the strength required to sustain it. So God works deeper than requests. In transformation, He builds endurance before elevation. He builds humility before expansion. He builds wisdom before responsibility. Because without character, blessings become burdens. Without grounding, elevation becomes collapse. Alignment, success becomes confusion. And this is why your current season demands seriousness. You cannot treat this phase lightly. You cannot dismiss what you are feeling as meaningless. There is a shaping happening in you that requires attention, awareness, and surrender. Not surrender to defeat, but surrender to divine direction. Because the moment you stop resisting what God is forming, you begin to experience what God has been preparing. You are being called in a higher level of trust. Does not depend on visible proof. Trust that continues even when explanations are absent. Trust that remains steady when outcomes are uncertain. This is not emotional optimism. This is spiritual maturity. Maturity is what allows you to survive what once would have broken you. There will be days where nothing makes sense, but even in those days, something is still being built. There will be moments where silence surrounds you. But even in that silence, instruction is being formed. There will be seasons where you feel paused. But even in that pause, positioning is taking place. Because God is never inactive in your life, even when His activity is invisible to you. And now, listen with depth. Resistance you feel is often the sign that you are close to breakthrough. Because anything God is about to elevate becomes a target of internal and external pressure. But pressure is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to define you. Reveals what cannot be shaken, so that what remains becomes your foundation. You are being shaped into someone who will not collapse under responsibility. Someone who will not lose identity under success. Someone who will not abandon faith under delay. Someone who will not forget God in moments of elevation. That kind of stability does not come quickly. It is built slowly, carefully, and intentionally through experiences that test every layer of your being. And so, even your discomfort has meaning. Confusion has direction. Even your waiting has structure. Nothing is wasted. Not a tear, not a delay, not a closed door, not a silent moment. Everything is being accounted for in a design far greater than your current understanding. Also a deeper calling now being stirred within you. A calling to rise above what is temporary, to stop interpreting your life through emotional moments alone and begin seeing it through spiritual alignment. Because emotions change daily, divine purpose remains constant. And if you build your life on emotions alone, you will misread what is actually preparation. God is teaching you how to stand when nothing supports you, how to trust when nothing confirms you, no church at all, how to move forward when nothing feels certain. This is not punishment, this is formation. Because what is coming toward you will require stability that cannot be influenced by fear. Version of you emerging that is not controlled by pressure anymore, not easily shaken by delay, not defined by rejection, not limited by past experiences. That version is being built through everything you are currently enduring. And one day, look back and realize that the very things you once prayed to escape were the very things that shaped your strength. So do not rush this process. Do not resist what is forming you. Do not reject what is refining you. What God is building in you is not just for today. It is for what you have not yet seen. And what you have not yet seen requires a foundation strong enough to sustain it. There is seriousness in this truth. Your life is under divine construction. And construction is not always comfortable, but it is always intentional. Scaffolding may look chaotic, but it is temporary. Dust may appear overwhelming, but it is part of building. Noise may feel distracting, but it is part of development. Structure is complete. Everything that looked chaotic will reveal perfect design. You are not abandoned in this process. You are being guided through it step by step, layer by layer, moment by moment. You feel like you are standing still. You are actually being positioned for what is next. So hold firm, stay steady, keep trusting, not because everything is visible, but because everything is being overseen. God has not lost sight of you, not even for a moment. And what He is preparing for your life will confirm that every delay had purpose, every struggle had meaning, and every silent season had direction. And when the time comes for what has been prepared to be revealed, you will not question the process anymore. You will understand it, you will honor it, and you will recognize that nothing was ever random. Everything was God guiding you into the exact place you were meant to become. And now, as this message deepens further, it's a truth you must receive not just with your mind, but with your entire being. God is not reacting to your life, He's ruling over it. There was no surprise in heaven about what you are facing, no confusion in divine knowledge about what you are going through. What feels unexpected to you is already fully known, fully measured, and fully accounted for in the wisdom of God. No church at all. And that alone should begin to shift something inside you, because it means you are not wandering through chaos. You are moving through a divine order you cannot yet fully see. There are seasons where God allows uncertainty not to weaken you, separate you from dependency on what is unstable. Because if everything around you is always clear, you may never develop the depth of trust required for higher assignment. Sometimes God removes visible certainty so that invisible faith becomes your anchor. And in that anchoring, something powerful is formed within you. Stability that does not depend on external confirmation, but on internal conviction. Understand this with seriousness. God is developing within you a strength that cannot be produced in comfort. Comfort does not produce endurance. Comfort does not produce clarity. Comfort does not produce depth. Only pressure does. Pressure you feel is not an enemy. It is a tool in the hand of God to bring forth something in you that ease could never unlock. There are dimensions of your purpose that will only be revealed after you survive what you thought you could not survive. Delight in struggle. But because certain levels of growth only emerge when you are stretched beyond your familiar limits. And every time you thought you were breaking, something deeper inside you was actually being awakened. You are not who you were when this journey began. Even if you do not recognize it yet, something within you has shifted. Your perspective has changed. Your tolerance for superficial living has changed. Your awareness of what truly matters has changed. Transformation is not accidental. It is intentional formation under the hand of God. Now, listen carefully, because this is where clarity becomes essential. Not every open door is a blessing, and not every closed door is a loss. Sometimes what opens easily is not aligned with your destiny, and sometimes what closes painfully is protecting your direction. God is not only guiding you toward what is good, He is also guarding you from what is not meant for you. And both guidance and protection are expressions of divine love, even when they do not feel like it in the moment. There were things you once begged for that you now understand you were not ready to carry. Things you once walked away from that you now realize were not designed to stay. That realization is maturity. And maturity is one of the clearest signs that God is actively shaping your discernment. Because as you grow, ability to misinterpret life decreases. You begin to see beyond appearances. You begin to understand that is not denial. You begin to recognize that silence is not absence. You begin to realize that struggle is not rejection. Not just motivational thoughts. They are spiritual truths that begin to govern how you interpret your reality when you are aligned with God's perspectives. And now, something even deeper must be received. God is not only preparing outcomes for you. Preparing you for outcomes, that means the blessing is not the only thing being designed. The container is also being designed. Because if the container is not ready, even the blessing becomes overwhelming. God works on both sides of your destiny simultaneously. What you will receive and who you must become to receive it. This is why you feel tension between where you are and where you sense you are going. Tension is not confusion. It is transition pressure. It is the discomfort of becoming. And becoming is never gentle, because transformation always requires the dismantling of what no longer fits. You cannot carry old thinking into new seasons. You cannot carry old fears into new assignments. You cannot carry old limitations into new levels of responsibility. And so God, in His wisdom, begins to strip away what would sabotage your future, even if it feels uncomfortable in the present. A deeper alignment taking place in your life right now. An alignment that is not dependent on your emotions, but on divine timing. And timing is one of the most powerful expressions of God's authority. Because when God delays something, never waste it time. It is preparation time. And when God advances something, it is never random. It is readiness confirmed. So even when you feel like nothing is happening, something is being perfected. Even when you feel unseen, something is being positioned. Even when you feel uncertain, something is being finalized in the unseen realm that will eventually manifest in your reality. You must stop interpreting silence as emptiness. Silence is often construction in progress. Construction requires stillness in certain phases so that stability can be ensured. What looks like inactivity is often deep formation happening beneath the surface of what you can observe. And here is a truth that demands attention. Endurance right now is shaping your authority later. The way you handle this season will determine how you carry future seasons. If you collapse in process, you will struggle in elevation. But if you remain grounded in process, stand firm in elevation. God is building within you a kind of resilience that cannot be easily shaken. A resilience that does not depend on circumstances being perfect. A resilience that holds steady even when outcomes are unclear. Resilience that continues forward even when understanding is incomplete. This is not natural strength. It is formed strength. And formed strength lasts. You are being prepared for moments that require you to remain calm while everything around you shifts. You are being prepared for responsibilities that require wisdom beyond emotion. You are being prepared for doors that require maturity beyond impulse. And all of this preparation is happening now, not later. What is coming cannot wait for you to develop it in that moment. So do not underestimate the seriousness of what you are experiencing. This is not ordinary delay. This is not meaningless struggle. This is not random pressure. Formation under divine supervision. And everything in your life is being adjusted accordingly. There is also something you must now begin to release. The need to understand everything before trusting. Because understanding is often delayed, trust must be immediate. If you wait for full clarity before you trust God, you will delay your own alignment. But if you trust while clarity is still forming, you will step into peace even before answers arrive. Peace is not the absence of questions. It is the presence of trust stronger than questions. You are being invited into that kind of peace. A peace that does not depend on outcomes. A peace that does not fluctuate with circumstances. Peace that remains anchored in the knowledge that God is not absent from your story. There is seriousness in this realization. You are not waiting for God to begin working. God is already working. You and your awareness is simply catching up to what He has already initiated. And once you begin to see your life through that lens, fear begins to lose its authority over you, because fear only grows in places where God's presence is forgotten. When awareness of God's involvement becomes strong, fear loses its foundation, and in that loss, courage begins to rise. Not emotional courage, but rooted courage grounded in divine trust. You are not walking blindly, you are being guided precisely. Even when direction is not fully visible, guidance is still active. Even when answers are not present, instruction is still unfolding. Even when outcomes are not clear, purpose is still intact. And now, as this message reaches deeper into your spirit, understand this final truth in this moment. God is not only preparing what is ahead of you, He is securing what is within you, so that what is ahead of you cannot destroy what you carry. Destiny is not just about arrival. It is about preservation through arrival. So just remain steady, remain faithful, remain open to the process. What is being formed in you right now will one day explain why you had to go through every single you went through. And when that moment comes, you will not see confusion anymore. You will see purpose. You will see order. And you will recognize undeniable clarity that God was never absent. He was building you all along. And now, as this message continues to press deeper into your spirit, there is something you must understand with even greater seriousness than before. Not only shaping your future, He is actively shaping your capacity to receive it. Because what many people fail to realize is that life does not just change by opportunity. It changes by inner readiness. And readiness is not a moment, process of divine construction that often happens in silence, in pressure, and in seasons that feel like they are doing nothing, while in reality, they are doing everything. There are levels of existence that cannot be accessed by desire alone, accessed by transformation. And transformation is rarely comfortable because it challenges everything familiar within you. It confronts your thinking. It stretches your patience. It refines your reactions. It disciplines your emotions, purifies your intentions. And through all of that, God is not breaking you. He is rebuilding you into someone who can sustain what you have been praying for. You must begin to see your life through a higher understanding now. Nothing is wasted. Not even the moments you thought were meaningless. Not even the seasons you questioned the most. Because in the wisdom of God, even what feels unproductive is still purposeful. Even what feels delayed is still directed. Even what feels unclear is still unfolding according to a precise divine sequence. There is a seriousness in this truth. Your life is not unfolding randomly. It is unfolding intentionally. And intention means that every moment has a role, even if that role is not immediately visible to you. Some moments are meant to stretch you. Some moments are meant to humble you. Some moments are meant to separate you from what cannot go forward with you. Some moments are meant to awaken something within you that comfort could never awaken. You are not simply walking through time. You are walking through formation. And formation requires patience, because what is being formed is not temporary, foundational. God is building something within you that will outlast emotions, outlast confusion, and outlast circumstances. And anything that is meant to last must first be tested. So when you feel tested, do not assume abandonment. You feel stretched, do not assume rejection. When you feel unseen, do not assume insignificance. These are often the exact moments whereby divine attention is most active in your life, because transformation is rarely loud. It is precise, intentional, deeply personal. And now another layer of understanding must be revealed. God is not preparing your path in isolation from your identity. He is shaping both simultaneously. Your path and your character are being aligned together. A misaligned identity cannot sustain a divinely aligned destiny. That is why inner correction often comes before external elevation. There are habits God is reshaping. There are thought patterns God is restructuring. Emotional responses God is refining, not to restrict you, but to liberate you from patterns that would sabotage what He is preparing. Because freedom is not just external, it is internal alignment with truth that stabilizes you under pressure. Pressure will come, not to destroy you, but to reveal what cannot be destroyed in you. Because under pressure, what is temporary collapses and what is eternal within you begins to stand. God allows certain seasons where everything that can shake you is revealed, not to weaken you, but to strengthen your foundation in what remains. You must understand this deeply. God is not interested in superficial strength. Building endurance, He is building depths. He is building resilience that does not collapse under delay, rejection, or uncertainty. Because the future He has prepared for you requires stability that cannot be shaken by temporary storms. Will be moments where you feel like nothing around you is changing, but everything within you is being reconstructed. And those are sacred moments, even if they feel silent. Because silence is often where the deepest formation takes place. External noise is reduced. Internal transformation becomes clearer. And now, hear this with full attention. Not every struggle is an attack. Some struggles are alignment. Not every resistance is opposition. Some resistance is protection. Closed paths is loss. Some closed paths are preservation. And when you begin to see through this lens, confusion begins to lose its authority over your interpretation of life. God is teaching you how to interpret life differently. Not emotionally, spiritually. Not superficially, but deeply. Because emotional interpretation changes with circumstances. But spiritually interpretation remains anchored in truth. And truth is what stabilizes you when everything else is uncertain. Also, something you must now begin to embrace. Growth often feels like loss before it feels like gain. Because growth requires shedding. Shedding of old assumptions. Shedding of old dependencies. Shedding of old limitations. And anything that is being removed from your life is not always loss. It may be preparation for expansion. You are being prepared for expansion in areas you have not yet fully understood. Expansion of responsibility. Expansion of influence. Expansion of understanding. Expansion of capacity. And expansion requires space. That is why certain things must first be released so that space can be created for what God is bringing next. You are not shrinking, you are being cleared for enlargement. And in this clearing process, discomfort is natural. But discomfort is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of transition. Because nothing transitions smoothly without adjustment. And adjustment always feels unfamiliar before it feels normal. Do not resist what feels unfamiliar. So sometimes unfamiliarity is the evidence that you are no longer where you used to be. And that alone is a form of progress. There is seriousness in this truth. You are being moved even when you feel still. Being guided even when direction feels unclear. You are being positioned even when you feel stationary. Because movement in the divine sense is not always visible. It is often internal before it becomes external. Internal movement is complete. External change becomes inevitable. You must now begin to trust the unseen work of God more than the visible evidence of your situation. Because what you see is temporary. What God is building is permanent in purpose. And permanence requires unseen preparation. There are decisions being formed over your life that are not based on randomness, but on divine wisdom. And wisdom always sees further than emotion. Wisdom always accounts for what is ahead, not just what is present. That is why, not to limit you, but to lead you toward something your current understanding cannot yet grasp. This is where surrender becomes powerful. Not surrender as defeat, but surrender as alignment. Because when you stop resisting divine direction, you begin to experience divine clarity. And clarity is not always immediate. It grows as trust deepens. Being invited into deeper trust. Trust that does not depend on outcomes. Trust that does not collapse under delay. Trust that does not change with circumstances, that remains anchored in the understanding that God is not only aware of your life, He is actively shaping it with precision, and nothing in your life is outside of that shaping. So remain steady in this process, not because everything is visible, everything is intentional. Not because everything is easy, but because everything is meaningful. Not because everything is understood, but because everything is governed by God's wisdom. And one day, when you look back at this season, you will not see confusion anymore. You will see construction. You will see protection. You will see preparation. And you will recognize that even the hardest moments were never against you. They were forming you. God was not just leading you through life. He was leading life through you, shaping you into someone who could carry what was always meant for you. And now, as this entire message reaches its closing moment, final truth that must settle into your spirit with clarity, weight, and unwavering conviction. Nothing about your life has been random in the hands of God. Not your pain, not your waiting, not your confusion, not your breakthroughs, not even the moments you thought were wasted. Everything has been part of a divine process that is still unfolding, still active, and still deeply intentional. You are not at the mercy of chaos. You are under the supervision of God's wisdom. That alone changes how you must see everything you have been through. Because what looked like delay was direction. What felt like loss was protection. What seemed like silence was preparation. And what felt like breaking was actually building in disguise. Seriousness in this realization: your story is not finished, and your current chapter is not your final identity. God is still shaping, still refining, still adjusting, still aligning. Every experience you have endured has been part of forming a version of you that can carry what is ahead without collapsing under it. You are being prepared for a future that requires strength you have not fully stepped into yet. That is why the process has been stretching you. That is why certain doors closed. That is why certain answers were delayed. Not to deny you, but to develop you. Because God does not just give outcomes, He builds capacity. And now you stand at this point of reflection. Understand this clearly. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not abandoned in silence. You are being guided through precision that you may not always feel, but is always present. Even now, still actively working in your life, aligning what you cannot yet see. So, do not measure your life only by what is visible today. Measure it by what is being constructed beneath the surface. The most important work God does is often invisible before it becomes undeniable. And when it becomes visible, it will confirm that every delay had purpose, every struggle had meaning, and every closed door had wisdom behind it. Remain steady in your trust. Remain firm in your patience. Remain grounded in your faith. Not because everything is already clear, but because everything is already known to God. And what is known to God is never out of control. When it feels uncertain to you, you are not at the end, you are at the edge of a turning point. A shift is forming, a transition is unfolding, a new understanding is rising within you. And as you move forward, you will begin to recognize that nothing was ever truly against you. Everything was shaping you. So go forward with confidence, rooted not in circumstances, but in God's unchanging authority over your life. Because what God has begun in you still faithful to complete in His perfect timing. And when that completion becomes visible, you will finally understand why you had to go through everything that brought you here.